Good morning. Good morning, everybody.
So Dr. Narendra will be the
Morning, ma'am.
chairperson of this
Good
session.
morning, Dr. Narendra. I hope you're doing well.
I'm doing well, ma'am. How are you, ma'am?
I'm fine. I'm
Nice
very
to
happy
be
to
here.
see you, our alumni, very shining star of the
Thank
Department of
you.
Psychology, Punjabi University. Good.
Not like you, ma'am.
Our students are always expected to go ahead than us.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, now I formally start the technical session 1. I, Dr. Narendra Singh, Assistant Professor at Postgraduate Government College, Sector 11, Chandigarh. Welcome everyone today on today's technical session 1. This session would be regarding understanding the psychology of students. All of us belong to the noble profession of teaching. There are various traits of a good teacher since we are dealing with students. Hence, understanding the psychology of students is the key trait of a successful teacher. Understanding of students' abilities, emotions, and state of mind gives a teacher upper hand in effectively dealing with them. Today, we have among us a dynamic and international personality, Dr. Damanjit Sandhu, Associate Professor, Department of Psychology, Punjabi University, Patiala. While introducing Dr. Damanjit Sandhu, I am feeling immense pleasure, especially because I am her student. I remember she used to say that a good teacher is one who can reach to the level of weakest student of the class. Perhaps I was the weakest student of the class and she reached to my level and taught me many things. Her specialization is in child and adolescent development, mental health, and cyber psychology. Currently, she is working for the National Commission for Women, Government of India, as an expert in the area of mental health for women. She has more than 90 research papers to her credit. And she has also co-edited a book entitled Bullying, Cyberbullying, and Students' Well-being in Schools, comparing European, Australian, and Indian perspectives. London. She has successfully completed 4 major national and international sponsored research projects on various issues related to child and adolescent development and mental health, and has been the principal investigator of India's first multilateral agreement in social sciences. Her research work has been published in world-class international journals, published by Routledge, Sage, Wiley, and Blackwell, and elsewhere. She has successfully supervised 8 PhDs and 12 MPhil students. She is also heading a special research group, Australia India Wellbeing Studies, at Flinders University, Adelaide, Australia. Her opinions and articles on various issues related to child and adolescent mental health and school online safety regularly appears in the national and international media. Recently, he has joined the editorial board of the prestigious journal Frontiers in Psychology as a review editor. It gives me immense pride in sharing that she has been successful in introducing the paper on cyber psychology at the master's level at Punjabi University, Patiala, which is a pioneering work in India. Her achievements are endless. It is not practically possible to mention all of them. So I invite Dr. Damanjit Sandhu to enlighten us all with her knowledge and wisdom. Over to you, Dr. Sandhu.
Thank you, Dr. Narinder. That was a very generous introduction about me. I hope I can live up to all that you have introduced me as. And before I begin with my talk, I want to thank the organizers of this meet. And I'm sure this is going on very well. And it's a great learning and enriching experience for all the participants. I can see people, I think they have joined from other states. And thank you, Dr. Meenakshi, for roping me in. And of course, it's a learning platform for me as well, as I get to interact with the participants and listen to their observations and their queries. So I hope this synergy will last long. Thank you. So today, as suggested by Dr. Meenakshi, she wanted me to talk something about understanding the students. So I thought, let me talk about the campus mental health. So if you can see my slides, are they clear? Can somebody just tell me my slides are visible? Dr. Narinder?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am,
ma'am.
but
It's visible.
you have to show the
Slideshow
slide because
करना.
it is very small.
Okay, I will start the slide here. Right. So the topic which I have chosen for sharing with all of you is where there is no counselor, initiatives for campus mental health. So in short, what I'm going to discuss with you today is that we are lacking, the trained manpower for looking into the psychological needs and how we can build our own resources, because we are living in a setting which is resource crunch, and there's shortage of manpower, and we don't have adequate trained personnel to look into the needs of the students, of the young people, which are rising every day pertaining to the mental health. The mental health needs of the young population are rising, are growing. More and more people need help about mental health, but there is shortage of manpower. So we as teachers, we as the mentors, we as the stakeholders on the campus, how we can fill in that treatment gap. So when they talk about mental health, the WHO, they means WHO, the authorities, they say that in India, the treatment gap is 90%. Treatment gap means the number of people who need such care, the number of people who need help, and the help which is available. How many people are actually there to deliver that help, to deliver what they require? So it means 90% of people do not get the help they need, do not get the help they want. They don't have access to that mental health mental health resources and the help. And the people who are providing those resources, they are very few in number. And if you see the statistics, which I'll be presenting in the coming slides, they look very shocking. So we have designed our indigenous ways in consultation with WHO, with people who are at the helm of the affairs, who are designing policies for such issues. Now they say that we don't have what what is required. We don't have that much to supply. So we have to train people at the grassroots level, train train school teachers, train Anganwadi workers, train staff working in the dispensaries, in the healthcare settings, give them basic training so they can prevent some mental health catastrophe, or provide some immediate help to a person who is undergoing lots and lots in his heart, or somebody who is on the brink of a collapse, or somebody who is very much agitated, somebody who is just wanting to take his or her life. So we have to provide that immediate psychological first aid. Psychological first aid is a concept which is built on the actual first aid. Like we are all familiar with what is first aid. For example, if there's a car crash, there's a car accident, and we give some first aid to the person so that the person can survive. So, in a similar way, we are providing psychological first aid to a person who is on the verge of a disaster, somebody who can either take his or her life or take the lives of others, somebody who is about to give up on life. So, if we intervene at the right time, we can prevent many of the promising lives to be taken away. We can help people, give some hope to live. So, who can do it? We all can do it as teachers, as staff working in colleges, on the campuses, with some basic adequate training, with some sensitization. We can train those people to look into the mental health needs of the students, of the people who are coming to the campus, so that a big disaster can be avoided. So this is the synopsis of my presentation. Right. So I begin with a saying which is very close to the heart of every professional working in the area of mental health, that there is no health without mental health. So if you think that you are healthy in your body, we will not consider you as healthy. You really have to be healthy in your mind in order to be called a healthy person. And what is mental health? So, mental health, as defined by WHO, is not just the absence of a mental health problem. So, if you say, I don't feel suicidal, I don't feel like killing somebody, I don't feel that there's a lot of anxiety around me, I don't have panic attacks, so I'm mentally healthy, right? To some extent, that is fine. But this is not the complete understanding of the term mental health. In order to be mentally healthy, you just not need to be free from the diseases, from the mental health problems like anxiety or extreme stress or panic attacks or schizophrenia or alcoholism. But at the same time, you have to be on a journey of wellness and happiness, on a journey which is making you a better person day by day, a journey which is defined by your goals, how actively or how healthily and how energetically you are going on the journey of pursuing your goals, the relationships, how well you are handling the relationships in your life, how good is your quality of life and how it is getting better day by day, how much are you satisfying yourself in terms of your needs for self actualization, your creativity, your pursuit of excellence. In short, are you becoming a better person day by day? So it is not just the lack of mental health ailments, but at the same time, in very simple terms, if you are becoming a better person day by day, you are mentally healthy. So, better person day by day means you are setting targets, you are setting goals, and you are slowly moving towards the achievement of the goals. You have a purpose in life. Every day, when you get up, you have a goal, and you work in maybe in baby steps. In very short, you're covering very short milestones, but you are moving towards the direction of the goals. You have the energy, your relationships are going on fine, you are enjoying hobbies, you are enjoying the finer things of life. So it's a kind of a enriched life which you are leading, a fulfilled life, a life which is autonomous, a life which is competent, and life which has a purpose. So all these things together, they define mental health. So in short, mentally healthy person is one who is, number one, not just not having psychological problems, but number two, his wellness and happiness is also increasing day by day. His quality of life is improving. He is having better relationships and he is slowly moving towards self actualization. I'm sure most of you must be familiar with what Maslow said. In the hierarchy of needs, at the top rung in that prism model is the self actualization. That is when you actually do what you are meant to do. You are creating something, you are leaving something for the next generation, you are generating something, you are working to your best potential and in ways which are very conducive to the well-being of everybody around you. You might be like, for example, you can be, a person might be, say that a criminal, for example, I'm giving the example of a criminal. He or she might be thinking that, yes, I am working to the best of my potential, but that is not the right thing for the society. So in a way, the social aspects, all those things have to be kept in mind while defining the term mental health. So you are coping well with the stresses of life, you're working productively, and you are making a great contribution to your community, like whatever field of work you are in, whether you are running your own business or you are, doing your household chores or whatever. You might be a homemaker, a professor, a doctor. So you are making a contribution to your community one way or the other. So all these things define the mental health. So we can think about all these things in terms of the population we are dealing with. So we are dealing with students on a daily basis. So we have students who are not able to cope with the stress of exam. They're not able to cope with their life circumstances, with the family issues. So I will be talking about all that, and slowly you can relate all this to the lives of the people around you, the students in your college, on your campus, and even the young people around you, even your own children, your nieces, your nephews. Like, you have so many kids in the family. So whether they are being productive, whether they are coping well, and they are moving towards a state where they are actualizing their potential. So that is basically the term mental health. Right. So this we have discussed earlier. So basically, when you are in control of your thoughts, your emotions, your behavior, and in your relationships with others, they are under control. And at the same time, you are improving, because we can always work on ourselves. We can work on our thoughts. As psychologists, this is what we are training people: how to control your thoughts, how to control your emotions, how to manage your behavior, and how to improve your relationships with others. So this is something, like, when you go back to your institutions, when the things open up, so this is something which you can always talk about to the students. You can encourage them, you can motivate them how to be in control over their selves. So in very short, in very simpler ways, stress happens when things are not under your control, when you're overwhelmed, when the demands of the situation are too much, but your ability to deal with them are too less. For example, if you have a buying capacity of 100, but the expenditures around you are 200. So there's a deficit. The demands of the situation are too much, whereas your resources are too little. So whenever there's an imbalance, things will be out of your control, out of your hand. You will borrow money, you will apply for a loan, or you will, dilly-dally making payments, or maybe some few of the people around us will steal, or will go in for unfair means to complete that particular deficit. So when the things are not in your hand, one is stressed. So now, from the perspective of the students, we need to understand that what is going out of their hands. Right. So why we talk about campus mental health? Because we are a young country. The average age of an Indian is 29.1 years. So we are full of young people. And as the demographics suggest, around 48% of the people, they are below 21 years. And 50% are below 25. So India's young population is too large, and we don't have enough resources to provide to the needs of all those young people. Right. And it's a very alarming state which disturbs us every day. Working in the mental health sector, we come across cases which suggest that India is sitting on a time bomb of suicide. Every hour, there's a suicide by a student, and it is one of the most depressed countries in the world. If you look at the suicide rates in general population, not just talking about the young people, in 1 hour, are 50 in India, and 8 sites are reported every day in India. And 43% Indians are suffering from segregation. These are the data from the general population, but then we can infer about what must be happening with the young population. Now, after going through around more than 1 year of lockdown and so much on the social space. It provides them some coping mechanisms. You learn from your peers, you share, you vent out your emotions, and it's a kind of a learning experience to grow as an individual, and you learn how to survive life in an educational institution. But now that the students are away from the campus, they are living in a virtual world. And in the virtual world, they have messed up their daily routines, they have messed up their learning. So it's going to be a very, very challenging situation when you see the students coming back to the campus. And this is, again, a very alarming figure that 40%, 43% of the individuals, they are having depression. And within that, there could be categories of mild depression, severe depression, so moderate depression. So in short, like you can all study about what is depression and find out if any of your student is going through such problems, a person who does not have zest for life, a person who lacks energy doing things, is sad, does not enjoy the things which he used to enjoy earlier. So these are some of the warning signs of depression which you need to read about in order to identify cases, because today the purpose of this presentation today is how to train the manpower, existing manpower on our campuses, the resources on our campuses to fill in those gaps. So at least you can provide some sort of psychological first aid, some sort of help and guidance, at least inform the students that these are the resources which are available for them. This is where they can seek help from. Right. So, why talk about the young people? Why do we need to focus on their mental health, or why are they so touchy that they are taking their lives in large numbers? So, when as developmental psychologist, I had been studying about adolescence, and my own PhD was on this issue about adolescent development. So this thing has predominantly struck every person working in the field of adolescent mental health, that adolescence is a stage of stress and storm. It's a very unstable phase of life where it's considered as a kind of an internal civil war. It's a stage where you are no more a child, not yet an adult, and you are looking for many answers to the questions of your life. And adolescent has been considered as a trapeze artist. So you must have seen the circus where that clown has come from one ladder, from one rope, and he has to, find the way to reach to the another rope, and he has to leave one and go on to the other. And this has to be done with a lot of proficiency, otherwise that person, that clown, would fall down. So this is how the psychologists, they have viewed this period of life, that they are leaving childhood and they are entering into the world of responsibilities of adulthood. So if this transition is not smooth, if this transition from one end to the other does not take place properly, there are risks, there are pitfalls, there are dangers that the person will fall down. And fall down in what terms? Fall down in terms of your academics, your social relationships, your reputation, your lifestyle, your hobbies. Everything can go down, and even a person can take one's own life. So, another very critical issue, which I have been again raising a lot of awareness, is dealing with adolescents. Now, we all know they are in a very sensitive stage of life, but at the same time, more sensitive is talking to them, because it's so difficult. I've compared this thing like walking on the eggshells. Handling an adolescent is like walking on the eggshells. Howsoever hard you try, you are going to break the eggshells. So you have to be very sensitive to the touchy adolescents. So as teachers, many times we try to be harsh with them. We try to get our things done, but we don't understand that they don't want to be rude. We always have complaints that this boy or a girl is misbehaving, he is not behaving properly, he's very rude, or he talks back. So this is a natural part of their growing up. So communicating to them, taking them in our ambit, or taking them under our wings, is a matter of dexterity for the stakeholders. So we have to be very sensitive while dealing with adolescents, because they are the future, and we have our duty to preserve their lives. So as a counselor, I always, in my workshops, I always say that our ego can never be more than the lives of these young people. We as teachers, like I'm also a teacher, and I have, although my students are little grown up, they are in the university, but many times we have difficult people who are in the extended adolescence. They still display those kind of characteristics which a child of 17 years or 16 years will be doing, because there are people who are developmentally little delayed, and they can never resolve their crisis in life. So I always handle the situation thinking that my ego is never bigger than their issues, what they are dealing with, what psychosocial crisis they have, and what life stage they are in. So we have to be very sensitive to these things, that they are prone to what we call misbehave in our terminology, or they are prone to be rude, or they are prone to talk back. But it is we who has to handle the situation, so that the situation does not get more infuriated, and it doesn't go out of our hands. And as I said, whenever the things go out of your hands, there will be stress, there will be chaos. So in your classrooms, when you meet students who are not, they're not either punctual, not disciplined, or they're not working on the expected norms, still we have to manage, we have to keep everything under our control. Otherwise it's going to be stress, not just for the student, but for the teacher, and ultimately it is going to bring embarrassment for the entire institution. Right. So this is a stage of stress and storm. Why do we call it? Because a child at this stage of life is undergoing an identity crisis. So what is identity? Identity means a self-definition. When a child enters adolescence around after the time he or she has attained puberty, uh, because of the various biopsychosocial changes within him or her, that person is faced with certain questions like, who am I? What is the real me? What is the purpose of my life? What is the direction of my life? What kind of a person I want to be? What are my ideologies? So this person is looking for a self-definition, is looking for certain answers to the identity he is going to create for himself or herself. So this person right now is very confused. He or she is like totally looking for answers. It is like so much of confusion, so much of availability, so much of options available to a child, that a person is not able to decipher, not able to find out the answer to his questions. And this is what is ailing the children. This is something which we call identity crisis. And because of going through this identity crisis, there are a lot of confusions in the mind of a child, a lot of disturbances in the relationship that particular student will have with the teachers, and at the same time that particular child will have with the parents and with the peers, because he is uneasy, he or she is anxious, there's something going on in his or her mind which is making him alter his decisions, look confused, not comply with your directions, because he or she is lost in something which is called a search for an identity. And this concept has been beautifully explained by Erik Erikson. And while describing that, or taking it to another level, James Marcia is another developmental psychologist who categorized that children can be, or the adolescents at this stage of life, they can be categorized into four identity statuses, which are the diffusion status, the foreclosure status, the moratorium status, and the achievement status. So any student sitting in your classroom, you can easily identify what that person is thinking in terms of his psychosocial health, or what that person is going through. And these four statuses have been defined on the basis of two dimensions. One is exploration and the other is commitment. So on the basis of two dimensions, exploration and commitment, there are four identity statuses. Now if you see the first identity status, this is identity diffusion. This is the diffusion status where you would find the maximum of your students. The biggest chunk is the chunk of identity diffused status students who are neither exploring nor are they committed. So please see these two highlighted things, exploration and commitment, on the slides. Now, if you talk about the diffusion status, as I said, there is lack of exploration, there is lack of commitment. So these students are the students, if you ask them, what do you want to do in life? They would say, I don't know. Maybe I'll do something. I don't know. I have not found out. I don't know. It doesn't bother me. Or they'll just laugh it away, or maybe just give you a very funny sneer at you, or that what the teacher is boring me with these questions. So they are not bothered about such questions yet. They are not troubled by such issues. So these are the students who are basically in the lowest rung of the mental health. They just seem to be idling their time. They are the ones who can just move with the flow, move with the current, wherever, whichever direction the wind blows, they will go there. Somebody tells them, let's go for coffee, they will go for coffee. Somebody tells them, let's go to movie, they will go to movie. They would be the one who would be wasting their time, wasting their energies on everything, because they don't have a direction and purpose in life. They have not found out, they have not committed themselves to any particular goal of life, nor are they exploring, nor are they bothered. So for them, life is just like a, you are like a shipwrecked thing, the shipwrecked vessel. If you are shipwrecked, so wherever the wind, wherever the ocean current takes you, you will go there, because you don't have your own commitments, and you don't have a search for those commitments, because those things are not troubling you right now. So they are the people who get into mental health problems. They are the students who get into drug addiction, into alcoholism, the bullying behavior, the aggression, the vandalism, because they don't have a goal in life. And they are the students who are on the least level of well-being. Now, then there are number two students, or the number two status, which the developmental psychologists, they talk about, is the foreclosure status. Now, these students, they have a commitment. They know that they want to be a doctor, they want to be an engineer, they want to be a teacher, but this commitment is not based upon their self-exploration. They have the choices, they have the answers to their lives, they know, they have the goals, but this is not something which they have found out for themselves. They're just parroting the ideas of their teachers or their parents, whatever they have been told by their parents, whatever they have been told by their teachers. So, without questioning, without going through a period of self exploration, without finding out what their aptitudes are, what their talents are, so they are just committing them as per the social norms or the social expectations or the family expectations. Any question? Anyways, okay, right, so they know what they want in life, but it is not based upon self search, right? So when we talk about the Indian context or the collectivistic societal context, this is a good status to be in, because society is accepting you, because it suits your seniors, it suits your parents, you are just being a good child, but it comes at a cost. These children, they can never be as confident as others, because they have not built their empire on their true selves or their true worth, because they've just borrowed things from others, or and whenever they don't have those strong pillars to guide them, they will be lost. So foreclosed individuals, as long as the people who are helping them guide or giving them guidance, as long as they are there, they are okay. But all their lives they will be dependent on others for um, reassurance, for security, because they have not built themselves on their true selves. Now, the next one is the moratorium status. Now, these kind of students you would find in their classes, they are the ones who are changing options, changing subjects, not knowing what to do, experimenting with their looks, experimenting with their behaviors, always edgy, always full of anxiety, always posing irritating questions to you, because they are currently exploring. They are the students, they are the youngsters who are going through an exploration. They want to find out the answers to their questions, like what should I do in my career, what should be my lifestyle be, what should be my philosophy be. They keep on experimenting, they keep on changing their subjects, changing their appearances, changing their friendships, everything. So, and they look so irritating to a teacher, and they have not committed yet. So they lack commitment, but the exploration is on. So these are the students who actually need a lot of help from the teachers. Teachers should not lose their patience while handling these students, because they actually need guidance and they need space to explore. So if we lose our temper, if we lose our patience, if we don't help them or don't understand them, and we are not sensitive to their needs, then they might, end up making some wrong choices, because they are at a position where they could go here or there or anywhere. Now, the last ones, they are the identity achieved students. They are very few in number. They are the students who know the direction and purpose of their life, the meaning of their life, what they want to do in life, what they want to be in their interpersonal issues, in their ideological issues. And this answer or these answers are based upon their own search, their own experimentation, their own exploration. They have tried out, they have tested themselves, they have found out that yes, this suits me, this doesn't suit me, I am happy doing that, I am not happy doing that. But they are very few in number. So they are the people who actually are the ones, the identity achievement students, they are the ones who bring laurels, they are the ones who break grounds, and they are the students who set records or do something exemplary for the institution, for their families, for themselves. So this is what you have to be sensitized and about, and you have to have empathy about the students who are actually very edgy, or they are very nervous, or they are fidgety, or they are they are just parroting the ideas, who look boring. So you have to find out what particular identity status that student is. And then when I talk about identity diffusion, as I said, that maximum chunk, like in my own empirical research, I found that more than 80%, 75 to 80% of the students, they are in the identity diffusion status in a normal institute, like where you have BA courses or BCom courses. So most of the students are not bothered about their life direction, their goals in life. So as teachers, we have to motivate them so that they become better people, they enhance their mental health. Now coming back to the same, the first very few things which I discussed about mental health, that it's an onward journey of wellness, happiness, creativity, goal setting, becoming a better person day by day. So these diffuse students, they, I will not say that they have a very high mental health. So we have to look into the psychosocial needs of these kind of students and help them to get on to a journey of self-exploration, of questioning themselves, of finding out about their career, how they're going to design their life, and of course, aid them, help them whenever they experience these bottlenecks. Now, another issue which is very pertinent to adolescent development and at this stage of life is the issue of emotional autonomy, where many students, they are going through this very normal process of life, wherein when you enter adolescence, there is a kind of distance, emotional distance, which is there between the parent and the child. Now, this is very essential to the development, because unless and until we don't develop that particular distance, we will never question our own identity. If we were just fused with our parents, we were just fused with our teachers, then everybody would be the same. Everybody would be alike in their thoughts, in their attitudes, everything. So, in short, there would be no progress in the world if everybody thought the same way. So, this is very essential. This process of emotional autonomy, where the child needs certain space from the adults in order to grow, in order to find direction, in order to find one's own place in the world. If the child and the adult, they are too fused, then there is obviously, then it's a system which keeps moving in one single direction. The space is essential, and some conflict is there which leads to this space between the parent and the child, or between the teacher and the student, and this conflict is necessary to trigger growth, to trigger questioning in a child. So normal little conflicts between the adults and the students. So this is basically a model which is based upon the parent-child relationship, but I try to understand this within the context of the teacher-student relationship also, that some amount of conflict is essential to the normal healthy development of a youngster. Because if everything is just plain simple, then life would be very boring. Of course, we'll have good, well-behaved, nice children suited for our needs. But if we want them to do exceptionally well, we need to have a certain emotional distance between them, emotional distance in which I would say that little amount of conflict, little amount of space is essential for them to spark their own quest, right? But this doesn't have to be extreme. We have to make sure this is coupled with connectedness. So when you have students in your class, there would be points of where there would be disagreements, where there would be debates, where there would be points where you will not just endorse whatever they are doing, and you have to question them. You have to sometimes rebuke them very warmly, but at the same time you do not lose the connection with them. Like, for example, if there's a conflict between a student and a teacher, you yell at the student and leave the class, goes away, right? So you have done, maybe you found that Yes, that was the best option for you. Yes, you did it. But then don't let that student just go away from you forever. You have to keep that student connected to you by one way or the other. No doubt you have thrown him out of the class because he misbehaved, or you had to write a letter to the principal explaining that this student misbehaved in the class, or I had to take such disciplinary action against the student. Fine, that is what you think was the best in that situation. But the next point is staying connected, building connections. You have to ensure that that particular student is still connected with you, because if that student is not connected with you, he will just deviate from that gravitational force and will alienate further and further away from, not just from you, but from many other things in the classroom, many other things in the academic world, slowly from the peers. And these are the people who actually are the people who create problems in the society, and they are the people who are prone to mental health problems, to psychopathology, to crime, to getting attached to subgroups which are deviated, getting into the trap of agencies like this is what made a class of individuals who are alienated. We have to rebuke the students, we have to scold them at times, we have to be harsh at them, but make sure that they are still connected with us, because this connection and this autonomy, it has to be balanced. Only then we can expect the best growth for the students in the class on our campus. So never sever your connection or your emotional bond to the students. Howsoever harsh, you have to be with them. Howsoever harsh, you have to react to their behaviors, but still that connection does not have to be severed. It doesn't have to be broken, because that connection is the gravitational force. Like all planets are moving in their own orbits. The sun is the teacher, and all the students, they are moving in their own orbits. So if you just nullify that gravitational force, that lone planet will wander away and away and get alienated and will create disturbances, will create problems, not just for his or her own self, but for the society as well. Right. So whatever I've been talking to you, these were the theories based upon, the empirical evidence, based upon research, interviews, case studies, observations of human behavior, anecdotal evidence. But at the same time, this is also supported by the neurophysiology, the biological sciences. They are also explaining so much about the behaviors, and we have evidence from neuroimaging techniques that which says that the brain of a youngster is growing, continuously growing. It grows from back to front till here, and till the age of 25 it is growing. So during this stage of life, the centers of the brain which seek emotional rewards, social rewards, sensation seeking, they are overactive. But the area of the brain which cautions you that slow down, make an informed decision, or go into self-regulation, control your impulses, they are little weak. So a child or a youngster, physiologically, he or she is bound to take decisions which are very irrational, which are not the cautious decisions, which are not the well-informed decisions, because the area of the brain which is triggering rewards, sensation, they are working more, they are more developed as compared to the areas which are telling the child to be more careful, or to not take risks, or to be more sensible in his or her behavior. So keeping all this, the neuroimaging evidence, the biopsychosocial model, and the relationships which the children are experiencing with the parents. So we have to be very, very sensitive. We have to be very, very pardoning to them. Many of these things, as I said earlier, their issues can never be bigger than our egos, because we know that they are not psychosocially as well as biologically mature enough to handle their lives well. So we have to intervene. We have to help them whenever they are in a crisis, whenever they are not living up to expectations. So, as I said, they are high on sensation seeking. They want some thrill in life. Normal for them is very boring. They're looking for adventure. They're looking for that adrenaline rush. So, it is not just that they are like, it is their lifestyle, or they're weird, or it is like the problem with this today's generation, the cliched statements which we give. So it is like they don't have the control over their biology as well. So before the age of 25, I always tell my students in the class that till the age of 25, never trust yourself with good decision. Whatever decisions you are taking pertinent to your career, pertinent, of course you have to take your decisions, but you should always consult your elders, your seniors, decisions about your marriage, whatever decisions you take. You that uh, and think about others, to um, uh, raise was trying to experiment with drinking. He would say others can is my voice breaking?
Yes, ma'am, little bit.
I'm getting some messages. Oh, 1 second. I'll try another internet connection.
Meanwhile, ma'am is taking another internet connection. If anybody has any question, you may post it in the chat box.
Okay, Dr. Narinder, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. It's clear
Okay.
now, ma'am.
Okay, I tried another connection. Right. So, because they have that idea in their minds that nothing wrong can go in their lives. Other people, it's the other people who've become drug addicts. It's the other people who would die in a road accident. So that is a sense of invulnerability in their lives, because they are not cognitively mature enough. So they are not even cognitively mature enough, because their perspective taking, the formal operational thought which helps them to look at the things very rationally and in the right perspective, has not developed yet. And because of that, they feel that whatever risky things they are doing in life, they will get away with this. No harm can be done to them. So, in short, adolescents are prone to many, many risks, because they are not psychosocially mature. There is lack of support in the relationships around them. There is a distance between them and the parents. Parents have alienated them. They have not built connections. Even teachers, they just kind of what is that word you do when you that word is coming to my mind, when you say that I have got nothing to do with this child, and so in a it's not it's on the tip of my tongue. I can't collect that word. So in a way that whenever there is no connection between the parent, between the student and the parent, or between the student and the teacher, they are biologically they are not matured enough to take wise, sane decisions, and their cognitive development has not taken place yet. So they are a very risky lot. And because of all this, they are prone to enter risk taking behaviors. Now, when you see the youngsters around you, the risk taking behaviors are the behaviors which pose a risk not just to your own self, but to others. For example, if you are driving at a speed of 150 kilometers per hour, you can die in a road accident. At the same time, you can kill others. If you are drinking all night in a pub or in a club, so you're not just creating problems for your own health, but you might enter into a brawl or a quarrel with other people, and there would be fist fights, and there would be weapon fights, and so many things can happen. A youngster who's experimenting with relationships will not just catch STIs or HIV, but can give it to others also. So, because we are living in a society which is well knit, and we are all stakeholders in that, and we understand that what is this annotation request? I'm getting a message. Dr. Shikha Gupta is requesting to annotate the shared content. What is that?
Ma'am, it's by mistake. Sorry.
Okay, that's okay. That's okay. I thought, anyways, right. So, because everything around them is so ripe to push them into wrong things. Everything, their biological maturation or the lack of it, the psychosocial context, the cognitive issues, and again, the temptations in the world, which will push them into risky behaviors. And one risky behavior is always associated with other things. A child who is into rash driving would definitely be into drinking as well. And a person who is into drinking will be into irresponsible sexual behavior also. So this not that one risky behavior occurs in isolation, it is in tandem with other risky behaviors also. So that is where we have to be very sensitive about, because ultimately involvement in risk taking behaviors is like inversely proportional to the number of years in life. So when you are into risky behaviors, you shorten your lifespan. A person who starts drinking early is into irresponsible sexual behavior, is into violence, that reduces the lifespan of a person, not just the lifespan of that person, but even the mental health of the person, because there's so many things which follow once you get into a trap, once you get into any uneventful situation, when you get in conflict with the law or with the authority. So this is all going to create problems for the mental health of the students. So this is again something which you need to educate the students, create awareness about, and inform them that they have to be in consultation with their seniors, get advice, find the mentors, and the teachers have to provide mentorship to them, or provide peer mentors in the institutions where the older students, the mature students, students who are either doing the PhD or they're into the master's classes, they become the mentors. Like the National Institute of Mental Health and Neurosciences is talking about campus mental health issues these days. And what they are emphasizing is the peer mentorship programs, that they want that every institute should have peer mentorship programs exams where one student who is a senior student is mentoring 5 or 6 junior students. So 5 or 6 junior students, they are attached to one senior student who looks after their psychosocial needs, who is helping them academically, helping them beat the loneliness if they are living on the campuses, of staying away from the family, where like they have one soft corner, they have one place to turn towards in case of any issue, in case of any sadness, any despair, they fail in in the subjects, or they're not doing well in the exams, they have had a breakup with their girlfriend, they have had a fight with their parents, or they have any issue related to because there are so many cyber frauds these days. Many adolescents, they're taking their lives because of cyberbullying, because their videos have been leaked. So whatever the situation is, like if you talk about the suicides, the main reasons for suicides are either the problems with the family, the academic problems, and then definitely the problems with the peers, the breakups, and what all happens after breakups. Once their romantic relationship is over, it is not an easy thing for them. They're not able to handle emotions, they're not able to handle rejection. They might try to take revenge and again create problems for themselves or for their ex-boyfriend or girlfriend. Like a lot of revenge porn is going on where you're leaking the videos of your ex-boyfriend or a girlfriend, or leaking the chat, and then this leads to very uncanny situation, very unpleasant situations in their lives, and many students, they are committing suicides because of all these issues. Right. So another thing which you always need to talk to students about is the balance in their lives. So building upon the observations of all the students, I have been working for the last 20 years, more than that now, and in my readings and my discussions with my seniors who have been practicing, who have been full-time practitioners. So one thing we all agree is that a lack of a balance in our lives is leading to a lot of stress and psychopathology. And it is not just something which is applicable to students, it is something which is true for us, for people who are in their midlives, people who are entering into relationships. So every getting into a new work, anything. So this is something which holds true for each one of us, that we are not leading a balanced life. So the example which we always quote is the 4 legs of a table. So I've conceptualized it in terms of 4 pillars. So you can always you can just think about a table which has got 4 legs. So the first leg of the table is your work or your career, the studies in case of students. And the second is your relationships, relationships with your family, with your friends, with your peers, with your superiors, with your romantic partners, then health. And the third is your spirituality. So if you conceive of life, conceptualize of life as a table, all these 4 legs have to be of the same height. Because if 2 legs are very tall, very much in height, and 2 are short, nothing can be kept on the table, it will slide down. Similarly, a table cannot stand on 1 leg. So many of the problems in the lives of our youngsters are coming up because they are overemphasizing the importance of one issue in their lives. For example, talk about career. You have seen that so many students have been committing suicide in quota. I don't know whether it has opened up or not. Many of the students, young people, they would be going for preparation for engineering or medical entrance exams to quota. And the city was alarmed by the students committing suicide. Why is this happening? So it's about the lack of balance in life, because all their identity, all their existence is around one pillar of life, and that one leg of the table, if that is broken, they cannot hold themselves. They just give up. They just give up on life, commit suicide. So it could be your career. If you fail, if you don't go into an IIT, if you don't do well in the exams, there's nothing else in your life to give you balance. So just think of the table now. One leg is broken, but still the other three legs, a table can still somehow stand on the other three legs. It can still work little bit as a table, but of course not to the same capacity, but still it can, be good enough for at least some purpose. So when you put all the eggs of your life in one basket, you are going to get very irritated, very much bewildered and overwhelmed by the situations, and probably it is too much for you to handle. Like young people, they are committing suicides because of relationships, because of breakups, as I told earlier. So their entire life identity is around that boyfriend or that girlfriend, and when he or she is not there, they just can't, they just don't know what to do with their lives, or they're just too much into health all the time, gymming, or or they're not looking after their health properly. So what here needs to be emphasized in very simple words: we don't have to be technical, we don't have to know about the theories, what Erickson said or what Marcia said or what Piaget said. We don't need to do that. In very simple analogies, in very simple terms, using very simple examples, we can discuss all these things with the students so they start taking care of themselves, know how to live a balanced life which is still working. It's a functional life, although it might not be a fully functional life, but still you are moving forward, maybe limping, but still you are not just sitting down, or you have not just collapsed. So all these things have to be sensitized while dealing with the adolescents. Right. So I was talking about mental health, the campus mental health. So this is something which sadly Indian government is not paying attention to the issue of mental health, and the budget which is being spent on mental health is very, very less. It is peanuts as compared to the budget which is spent by the developed countries. And there is extreme scarcity of mental health professionals. There are very few resources, and even the basic care which is needed, which is required by a person for handling the mental health issues, that is not available. And we all know that there are people around us who need, we all have one person in a circle who is either depressed, who is going through anxiety, who is suicidal, who has a drinking problem, who has an aggression problem, who beats his wife. We all know people, or somebody who has criminal tendencies. We all know that person in our surroundings, in our neighborhood. Right. So WHO states that mental health workforce in India is not up to the mark, and there's a huge shortage. So if you talk about the shortage, as I told you earlier that I will show you in my slides. So for 1 lakh population, there are just 0.3 psychiatrists, 0.12 psychiatric nurses, and 0.07 psychologists for every 1 lakh population. So this is a very much neglected area, and the desirable number of people are not there. And I said earlier, 90% is the treatment gap. So now what we do? So there is evidence which suggests that adequately trained lay counselors. Now what I am doing with you today is I am training you to be counselors. Where there is no counselor, you can train the people working in those settings to be the lay counselors, right? As this word is taken from the layman, but it is not in that negative connotation. Whenever you can be used as a resource, at least to save one person from committing suicide, you are doing a very good job. And this is something which we can do at the campuses. We have to organize such lectures, such workshops where the psychologists or the psychiatrists, they come to the campuses and train or sensitize the staff towards the mental health needs of that students, so that such staff can provide at least some psychological first aid to the child in distress. So they can make meaningful and long-term differences in the lives of people in the developing nations, because it will take years and years when we are able to fill in that treatment gap where every person, like today, as I said, that 43% people are depressed. Now, if all of those 43% people, they decide now it's enough. Tomorrow I have to go to a psychologist, I have to go to a psychiatrist. They get up. So where do they go? It will happen the same way what happened with the ventilators and oxygen. So we don't have it. They will probably, they'll have nowhere to go. And where will they go? They will go to Babajis, who don't have any scientific knowledge about mental health. They will go to tantrics, they will go to peers, fakirs, and they will be exploited. And we have cases where the women, especially women, are so gullible. They have been even sexually exploited when they have shared their emotional problems with these god men or with these tantrics and all that. So there's a further exploitation, right? So the idea is that we at the campuses, in the schools, in the primary healthcare settings, in the colleges, we are there to help a child in distress. Right? So academic institutions can contribute greatly to lay counselor training, and such trainings can enhance people's overall quality of life and have a measurable impact on human development and economic productivity. So economic productivity I'm talking about is because every developed countries, like if you see the papers published in Lancet and all, they count that what is the economic loss of a mental health problem. Just imagine a person, just think of a person around you, because of depression, that person is not going to work. So what all he has lost, the years lost in disability, how he could have contributed to the economy of the nation. Now if let's go back to the figure 43%. And 43% is a big number. It means like 43 out of 100 people, they are not working to their full capacity. They could be mildly depressed, moderately depressed, and severely depressed, but at least there are 43 people who are not working to their full capacity. And how will this country rise? How will the economy grow? So when you see so many people around you who don't want to work, who don't feel like working, they will be irritated. Like somebody, if you go to some department of some government agency, or any worker around you, who would be irritated, who would not listen to you properly, who's not behaving well, not kind to you. These are all mental health issues. That person is struggling with something. That's why he is not working to the full capacity. So this is a great economic loss. And if you talk about suicides, like so many suicides every day, I was reading a paper where they calculated that one suicide costs 2,65,000 rupees in the first year. That's so a person who has committed suicide, that person has ended his or her life, but to the loss which has been incurred is 2,65,000 in the first year, be it the cost of the ambulance, the cost of the doctor, the cost of the insurance, the investigation, and the money which he could have earned. So suicide is also a risky thing. It will cost us a lot of economic issues. So I'm just taking it to another level, that we have to be sensitive, not just because they are humans and we have to grow as a nation and they are our assets, but it's an economic loss also. And there is a lot of research on the economic losses related to mental health problems. So that's why the researchers all over the world, they are saying that if the country has to rise, you look into the mental health problems of the people. And then a depressed mother would pass on, because emotions are contagious. Just like COVID is contagious, emotions are contagious. A mother or a father or a teacher, I'm not just talking about the students. Sometimes we have, like, even many of my colleagues, I see them struggling with mental health issues. So they are the ones who would be, very sad, and they're very gloomy. Their classroom environment is so gloomy. The moment they enter a class, like, you feel like, this better not be here. Go to a better place. Let's go to canteen. Like if I was a student, I would not attend that teacher's class who is so like low on energy and so irritated and all that. So emotions are contagious, and the leader of that particular unit can transform the entire group by his or her positivity, and at the same time can dampen the spirits by his or her lethargy, by laziness, by lack of energy, lack of enthusiasm. So as teachers also, you have to be very enthusiastic, very bright, full of energy, because emotions are contagious. Right. So who is a lay counselor? A lay counselor is a trained individual who understands the importance of providing a listening ear. So when you see such students on the campus, you have to listen. You know, in my practice, in my observation, most of the issues are just related to this, nobody to listen to me. And if you let that particular student speak to you, let him say whatever he or she has in their minds. 90% of the issues are resolved when the person vocalizes that, verbalizes that, puts that problem in words, or discusses. Many of the cobwebs in his or her mind are cleared. Many of the minor issues are cleared when that person is talking to somebody, and that person knows that yes, I am being respected. That person is given some reassurance, some support and guidance. So you can all be lay counselors. And of course, there are certain limitations. You cannot act as a kind of a professional. Like you cannot, start giving, medicine like a psychiatrist would do. But you can still help that person be relieved of the stressful situation, and help that person make a wise, informed, and a very balanced decision regarding the situation in his or her life he or she is trapped in, and even provide him the resources. Like many students, because I teach cyber psychology, they ask me, ma'am, this man is troubling me on the phone, this and that. At least you provide them the resources that this is the way you can move ahead in this direction, or how this problem can be solved. Right. So what lay counselors provide? Lay counselors provide support to individuals experiencing emotional issues and problems. The level of training acquired will provide the lay counselor with an understanding of how best to support individuals going through particular difficulties. Their training will not, however, equip them with the professional knowledge to provide the level of counseling guidance if required, if the individual has medical conditions that complicate their emotional issues. Like, so sometimes there are medical conditions, of course, you will not handle those, but you can refer that particular person to go to this and this person, go to this hospital, you can meet this person, you can share their issues. Right. So lay counselors are those who provide psychosocial support but are not clinical mental health specialists like the social workers, psychologists, or psychotherapists. Situations that present suicidal intention, mania, clinical depression, personality and anxiety disorders, and schizophrenia must be referred directly to a qualified professional. So when all these things come to your notice, you have to give the referral, you have to provide reference, you can tell the child whom to meet, how to go about this particular situation, and provide a psychological first aid, which I talked earlier also, which is a supportive and a compassionate presence designed to do three things. So as a provider of psychological first aid, you have to focus upon three things. One is to stabilize, prevent the stress from worsening. If a student comes to you crying and he is panicky or he is very aggressive, you have to make sure that this does not increase, this does not elevate further. Then to mitigate means to reduce it. Whatever way you think is right, you have to calm down the situation. And number three, to facilitate access to continued supportive care if necessary. If you think that this is something which is not under your purview, this is beyond your knowledge and your expertise, so you have to refer it to the right person. Psychological first aid does not entail diagnosis or treatment. Nevertheless, like physical first aid, it requires basic training to be effective and reduce the risk of inadvertently making things worse. So basically, we don't want that the things should be things should worsen, or it should further complicate the entire situation. So as a lay counselor, we can intervene so that the child does not do something unmindful, which he or she will regret later on, because there are many cases where children have attempted suicide and they were not completed, but it resulted in a loss of a limb or injury to some brain area, and they could not lead a normal life again. Right. So campus mental health, again, it talks about some very issues, strong issues like breaking the stigma, because we are living in a society where mental health is a big stigma. It's considered a joke. We laugh at a person who says that I am hearing some voices, or there are people who are trying to kill me. We are always laughing at that person. We don't, because we are laughing at that person, and there is stigma attached to it, like the social stigma. A person, if somebody, we have to marry our children in a family where we know that the mother is a schizophrenic, the mother of the boy is a schizophrenic, we will think twice. So because it's a stigma, right? So cancer is not a stigma. There are many other health problems. Having a fracture is not a stigma, but this mental health is a stigma. So we have to create awareness, begin a dialogue, spread information, and be very open. When the things are talked openly and everybody participates, it is not a stigma anymore. When people come up, like there are media stars who have talked, Deepika Padukone, many people in the past, who's Priyanka Chopra, they've shared their journeys, how at different stages of life they were bowed down by the life circumstances, they were depressed, and how they came out of it. So when such success stories are shared, like we can talk about our own success stories, like we have all gone through periods of crisis, we have all gone through times which were not so good times. Let us share our stories with the students, and let us be open that how we won over the situations. So let us all be role models. Then you have to spread this through posters, through on the websites, on the prayer meetings, like in the morning assemblies. These issues can be talked about, that mental health conditions are treatable. You don't have to live with it. There is a treatment, and you can be very normal again. And then if you don't look at it, it can worsen. So this is something which you need to talk about the students, and talk to them how important self-care is, having the right amount of sleep, good nutrition, working to your optimal but not overworking, not at the cost of the balance of your life. So all these things have to be talked to the students. Then most importantly, I'm very much impressed by what Stanford does, and I think that we all should do is, they have one day which is called the I screwed up. And Stanford I screwed up, this is the festival they have, where every student, whosoever they have messed up, or they were on the verge of ruining their lives, and how they came back from that. They come forward to discuss their journeys of their U-turns in life, how they handle those situations, that they were about to go on the other side of the hill, but how they came back, how they handled the chaos in their lives. So again, sharing success stories, and in a very funny way. So I have my own stories, I have my own journey where I have done so many silly things. We all have done silly things. So in a very humorous way, we can discuss this, and let's not keep everything so, the guilt and the judgment. Normally what we do is, we all have skeletons in our cupboards, we all have a past, we have done silly things, we have done wrong things. There's nobody in the person nobody no person in this world who has not done all that. But there's so much of judgment, there's so much of guilt, so much of shame, because we have a culture of shaming others, that this person has this past, this person has done this, so that person like is killed 100 times for one single crime. So how many times can you kill a dead person? That is the question. Because we are all the time shaming that person, gossiping about that person, bitching about that person, backbiting about that person, which is actually complicating the whole mental health issues, We are not happy most of the time because we always have the fear of judgments about what others are talking about us, how others view us. This is one another big factor in our lives. But we have to change the culture. We have to build a world where we can very confidently talk about all the nasty things we did in the past in a very funny way, in a very humorous way, and there is nobody to judge us. So this is the environment, this is the kind of generation we have to build, where students come up openly, talk about their successes, their failures, their mistakes, without guilt and without the fear of being judged. So I think enough from me. Over to the organizers now. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for such
Okay,
an
am I still there?
interesting lecture.
I
It is
thought I
very
lost the
useful.
connection. I can't see you anywhere, Dr. Narinder.
Can you hear me, ma'am?
Yes, I can hear you. I can't see you.
Ma'am, you have to change the grid.
Okay, I did it.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am, for such an interesting and engaging lecture. It's very useful for all of us because we are in which if anybody want to ask anything from my or you want to interact, please come forward.
Yeah, Dr. Narendra, I got the word disown. Yes, I'm reading. That's the right word. Disown.
Good morning. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, please.
Yeah, ma'am, I'm Dr. Ankita, Department of English from SD College, Kheri, Gurna. First of all, I would like to congratulate you on a very, very informative and the need of the hour lecture. I mean, every single word that you said made sense because as a country, there are few observations that I want to share after your presentation. It is very enlightening. And, you rightly pointed out that the government of India has not really taken a lot of steps towards the student mental awareness and wellness. Although the MHRD did launch an app, a Manu Darpan, last year post-pandemic. But the thing is that how many of us in the institutions are actually, enrolling the students there or motivating our students to be on the app and, seeking mental help as and when required. Number one. Number two, yes, of course, we have to move ahead of the stigma that mental health issues or wellness issues are, we don't look up to these issues because, being a third world country, we are still grappling with issues of poverty, unemployment, and, the basic conditions of food, shelter, and water. So, mental health sometimes is a far-fetched reality for us. We really do not consider it to be a problem at all. We often hear the faculty saying कि हमारे time पे तो we used to just slap the kid और सब हो जाता था और घर पे भी we usually hear this हमारे time पे mental health नहीं होता था. So मतलब we cannot apply all those concepts in today's world because the generation has changed rapidly because of the technological dilution. There has been a global dilution which has happened post-pandemic also and after the coming up of technology. So, as a faculty member of literature, I would just like to add that, writers like T.S. Eliot, when he wrote the poem Wasteland in 1922, he talked about these things. And now we are about to step into 2022. And still we have people who have not read those books which were talking about the post-traumatic stress disorders of World War I and World War II. So I think we should incorporate this culture of, a habit of reading into those archives, into those books which are masterpieces. And developed countries are very, very conscious about these things. And they have a wellness system in their institutions. They have a system where kids can go and seek help and read these things. And the faculty members, they reach out to kids in a form of a practical exposure. They tell them to We must have seen that Lord of the Flies by William Golding. So all these books, they're talking about the traumas which people faced in World War I and World War II. And what we are facing right now, the COVID, is also kind of a biological war. So we need to make our students as well as the faculty aware as you rightly pointed out, that this is not a stigma. Number one, we can reach out to our teachers and our parents. And in case we have certain problems, we can openly discuss it and it will not be shamed or judged. So I think these are certain observations. And ma'am, really, it was a very engrossing lecture. Thank you so much.
Dr. Ankita, thank you. You have touched some very important issues, and the issue of post-traumatic stress disorders, definitely that is something which which the psychologists now they are working to extend it further. Of course, after going through stress, we all have we bow down, we change, and we we get sad and it affects us. But now what the psychologists they're talking about is something called post-traumatic growth, or the adversarial growth. Like, not that after going through every bogging down situation of life or after going through trauma, so there is a choice. Either you can just give up, but there are people who have actually grown after a trauma. There are women, one of my colleagues PhD students, she was working on the post-traumatic growth, which tells that after going through a divorce, like there were women who actually they got divorced at a very young age and they were not even competent enough to make both ends meet. So they completed their education and they were on their 2 feet, and now they're so successful in life. So every trauma gives us a choice. Either we can just give up or we can grow. And there are people who have grown, and they are the people who are high on something called the adaptability quotient. Now the world is talking about adaptability quotient. Earlier it was said that to succeed in life you need a high IQ. If you are able to solve the numerical problems, or if your vocabulary is good, you would be successful in life. Then the world changed into this thing called emotional quotient, that if you are able to handle your emotions well and the emotions of others well, if you can regulate yourself and lead the groups and all, you can be very successful. But now what people are talking about is the adaptability quotient, and very rightly, Dr. Ankita, you related it to the contemporary crisis of COVID. So this is what we need to think about. We need to induce in our students that this is a time of crisis, this is a time of trauma, because we are losing our friends, we are losing our family members, we are losing our finances, our jobs. This is a time of adversity, but we have to fight it back, we have to come out of it. And the adaptability quotient or the adversity quotient is something which will bring us back, and this is our bounce back ability. So for every bad situation in life, we have to learn to bounce back. And as teachers, as leaders, we have to inspire people with our stories, that how we handled all those situations. And again, bibliotherapy, reading books, sharing resources. I think teachers like you should make great efforts, and they'll go a long way. And reading is such a therapy. It is actually if you have the habit of reading books, you are never alone. And when you are never alone, most of the things, they crop up in an empty mind. So empty mind is a devil's workshop, as they say. So reading books, definitely, Dr. Ankita, that's a very good thing, and it is uh, very relaxing in a way. So, and I think many of the problems are coming up because we are more into technology rather than into reading. And our minds have the brains, they've started processing at a very high speed, which is not a part of our evolution yet. Dr. Narinder can tell more on this.
Thank you, Dr.
Dr.
Ankita.
Narinder, do you agree?
Anybody want to interact?
Okay, then, should I take leave?
There is a question, ma'am.
No,
Narendra sir, there is a question in the chat box.
Can you please read it out?
Okay, so there is a question from Miss Ankita, Ankita Turka. Uh, She wants to ask that from where we can learn this skill of providing psychological first aid. Are there some institutions providing these kind of courses to be a professional lay counselor?
Ma'am, I think the best way is like you can request the local counselor in your area, in your surroundings, the local psychiatrist or the faculty members of psychology in your the clinical psychology in your college, in your institution. They can provide inputs and sensitize the other faculty members about the basics of counseling or how to mitigate the stressful situations. And then there are resources available also on the internet and all, but I think like the exercise we had today, so you can have a series of exercises and have a counselor in the college, in the institution, who keeps on imparting information about these things. So I think it's very important to have a counselor also in the college, in the institution, but how many students can that one single counselor handle? So we have to generate a kind of a kind of a effect that it spreads more and more, illuminate more and more people. Okay, should I take leave now? I have some other
Just take a
commitments.
vote of thanks, ma'am.
Okay.
If there is no other question, should I call upon Mr. Amit Kumar for delivering talks for today's?
Good morning, one and all. On the behalf of IQAC and GGDSD College, it's an honor to have this opportunity to propose vote of thanks to those who have directly and indirectly contributed to this national SDP on improving the teaching and research acumen. At the outset, I would like to thank Honorable Principal Ma'am, and it's our immense pleasure that we are fortunate enough to have of the renowned and worthy resource person, Dr. Damanjit Sandhu, Department of Psychology from Punjabi University, Patiala. Ma'am, we are glad to hear from you a word of wisdom on understanding the psychology of the students. As you talked about the mental health, stress, teacher-student relation, and balance in life, etc. It was quite informative session, ma'am. We will try to inculcate the abilities to improve our psychological understanding of students in teaching as an academician. Once again, thank you so much, ma'am, for spending your precious time and effort for this session. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay.
ma'am.
Goodbye to all.
ma'am.
Thank you to the organizers, and goodbye to all. And have a good learning experience in the coming time as well. Bye-bye.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Bye. So we will meet for second technical session 5 minutes earlier than 12 or 10 minutes earlier than 12. So those who want to leave can leave. Those who want to stay can stay. So we will meet